Not Quite Cool is a podcast that contains spoilers, opinions, and general nonsense. Listener discretion is advised.
So if you're just tuning in, because Rob Brago just admitted that he's going to steal a dog from someone tomorrow, a dog with a horrible name. Xander? Is that the dog's name?
Humane Society, and he's a 1-year-old boxer. He's gorgeous.
Sounds awesome. You should name him like, I don't know, Sugar Ray Puppy or something like that.
Nice. I'm going to steal one of Keith's crates.
Yeah, that's true. I have a cinnamon bun, too. I don't know if it'll hold until you get here tomorrow, though. So,
well, if it does, it won't last long. I'm trying to hold myself over with this dip and this hummus and this cheese. It's good stuff.
Well, that sounds like a disgusting combination. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Not Quite Cool. It's been about 6 years since we recorded, so we're finally here to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. And with me is Chad Downey. Chad, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's funny. We haven't recorded in forever. And Rob also admitted before the show started that he hasn't seen anything. So I don't know what he's been doing for the past year and a half.
No, nothing. And then speaking of that disappointment, there is Rob Prago eating some chips, hummus, cheese, and charcoal. I don't know what he was saying. How you doing, Rob?
Oh, I'm doing good. I have food. It's a little mozzarella cheese on some chips and some hummus with some pesto. I'm ready to listen to you guys do one hell of a podcast on things I haven't seen yet.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's this is going to be the same as it always is. So let's go ahead and dive in because we have a lot of movies that we're going to talk about in one trailer.
I did see the bubble.
Oh, so you got two movies that you've seen. It's really important that you derailed the intro to get that information in there. I couldn't wait until we started talking about that movie that's already in the list.
That means he looked at the list for the very first time just now. He's going to list. He's like, oh, yeah, I did see that.
I'm going to chew as loud as I possibly can over your show.
So let's go ahead and start off by talking about, the main reason we're here is to talk about Marvel movies, and perhaps one of the biggest Marvel properties, the most anticipated, has finally dropped, and we can finally talk about it, and that is the legend that is Morbius. Chad, you saw Morbius, I saw Morbius, and like 3 other people in the world saw it. What did you think about the film Morbius? I forgot how this fucking show goes for a second. It's been so long. Chad, what did you think about Morbius?
Well, normally how we pick on Rob for not watching stuff. I immediately texted him after this was over. I said, don't waste your time. This movie was not good.
No. He's actually envious that I haven't seen it. He's envious.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was really bad. I can't say that I was disappointed necessarily because I didn't think it was going to be that great going in, and it wasn't that great. So it kind of, I guess, met my extremely low expectations. It was just not good. The only thing that I was like, well, maybe, me and my daughter going to it, we were talking, well, maybe Michael Keaton will have some good stuff in it. And the movie's almost over, and yet he showed up. I was like, he's in the freaking Stinger. Is that what he's going to be in? Oh my gosh. He was in the Stinger, and it didn't even make any sense.
Yeah, he's kind of in the Stinger.
It didn't make any sense.
No, none at all. I think this movie is obviously getting shat on, and rightfully so, because it looks like it's a toilet. I don't think it's necessarily as bad as a lot of other people are saying it is. I think the movie is passable if I've never seen another film in my life. If it's 1992, this is fine. This is top-notch 1992 comic book movie. But just in a world where you're trying to bank off the Spider-Man success, you're trying to make a movie that can be associated with the MCU, you fail. And it's not like I think Jared Leto is a creepy guy who has problems, but he's a good actor, and I think he does a solid job here. I think
he's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's not the problem. He's not
the problem. It's the story, the editing, the direction, and the lack of like anything special that is the problem. Like, I feel Morbius, I like the character. It's just this movie was stupid. It was just a waste of my fucking time. Like, even the Tyrese Gibson character He has a metal arm in one scene at the end. Why? Why does he have a metal arm in that one fucking scene? Michael Keaton's in 2 stingers, but Michael Keaton's only really in 1 stinger. He doesn't even, and the reason he gets brought into this universe doesn't make any fucking sense. Like,
no, it makes no sense.
Makes no sense. And Morbius's whole thing was, I'm gonna go kill myself, and then he kills the other guy, and he's like, never mind, I'm not gonna kill myself. Why did you change your mind? When did you get Bat Kamehameha powers? Why did you rip off the Dark Knight score and shots from the movie? Just bothersome. And then I'm sorry, I'm taking it. Then
okay, take it.
Sony announced yesterday a spinoff of El Muerto starring Bad Bunny the musician. Oh, fucking Jesus Christ.
So with this movie, you are 100% right that they completely ripped off The Dark Knight with music and shots. It was unbelievable what they did. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that how much they ripped it off. But you kind of touched on it, but I didn't understand this, and I might have missed it because there's a lot of stuff going on. When at the end of the movie, when Morbius has those 2 vials and he's like, one for the bad guy and one for me because I can't control my thing. I never saw where he decided not to kill himself.
Yeah, he's not there.
There was nothing to even change his mind.
Yeah,
over what happened. It wasn't like he saved someone's life and he's like, oh, I am good. I can actually nothing. So when at the end when he jumps out and he's flying with the bats, I was like, if this is the end of the movie, that's insane because it made no sense. And if that wasn't insane enough, like you said, the stingers. So Michael Keaton thinks that Spider-Man has something to do with it. We might know that because we've watched the other movies, even though he doesn't, necessarily have. But why does Michael Keaton think Spider-Man has something to do with this?
Why does
why would he tell Morbius who doesn't even? Morbius has no idea who Spider-Man is.
Yeah, why isn't Morbius like, who the fuck is that? Also, why is Morbius driving? You just showed me you can fly with bats. So, like, why do you need a convertible? Aren't you still a wanted man? Like,
Yeah, just not good. Like I said, don't waste your time, Rob. This was a good one. I'm sure you would have watched it for the podcast had you needed to.
Yeah.
I got to tell you guys, this has been a great podcast so far. I have enjoyed the chips, and this discussion has been heated and exciting so far. Thank you.
Speaking of exciting and not pieces of shit, let's move on from Morbius because I can't really sink my teeth into it anymore. And let's give you one of the 3 things that Rob can talk about. But before we do that, let me make a preamble. We are recording this on Tuesday night. Everybody knows Moon Knight drops on Wednesday. I continuously beg Rob for us to record the podcast on Wednesday so we will be relevant and the things we say won't now be out of date every time. But Rob, he's a douchebag. So anyway, let's talk about
another one tomorrow.
Let's talk about the first 4 episodes of Moon Knight, the Disney Plus Oscar Isaac show. Chad, what are you thinking about the show so far? And just to let everyone know, where we have left off with the show, we have just been introduced to a hippopotamus, and that's the best character in the MCU. Go ahead.
So, this one to me is the weakest Marvel show out of all of them. I think that Oscar Isaac is doing an amazing job. He is incredible.
Yeah.
That's what's carrying the show. I really, really liked the first episode. And I was like, oh, where are we going with this? I just really liked everything about it. I feel like it's almost going off the rails now. And I feel like it's been steadily doing that. It's not just because we had a hippopotamus at the end of the last episode and he's talking to himself, in wherever they are. I want to like this show more than I do. It's fine. And the thing is, I asked myself, if this was an MCU show and I was just watching it, would I keep watching it? And the answer is no. I would not keep watching this. If it was just a standalone, like on Netflix, a superhero show, something like that. Again, Oscar Isaac's performance, excellent. He's the only thing carrying the show. But otherwise, it's just, man, I mean, I'm not excited, looking forward to the next episode. It is what it is.
Damn, that's harsh. Talk about a fucking killer review there. Rob, this is one of your only 3 chances to speak. Make it count.
I like the show. I think Oscar Isaac is giving one of the best performances in these Marvel shows. I think it's a great performance overall. I think he's doing some amazing split personality work, and I think it's a fun show. It's good. And I was thinking today, I was sitting there going, I like the show. How much do I like the show? Where does it rank among the other shows? And I just in my head went, okay, going off what I just at a pure sheer enjoyment, I went, what shows did I enjoy the most? And Hawkeye I enjoyed Hawkeye the most of all these shows. I'm not saying it's the best, the worst. I enjoyed Hawkeye, its connection to the MCU, the sense of humor. And then I went WandaVision is my second really close, most enjoyable show. And then I went, oh, I'm sure Moon Knight's coming up. And then I went, it was number 3. And I went, Loki. I think I enjoyed Loki the third most. And then fourth, I went, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I enjoyed that the fourth most. I enjoyed that more than Moon Knight. And fifth, I went, what are the next two? There's What If was left in Moon Knight. And I went, Moon Knight's fifth out of 6 shows. And What If is, not that I didn't like What If. I went, okay, it's, and again, I think Marvel
kissing for you. Yeah.
What's that? Marvel has made, Marvel makes good stuff. And so things that are good are still at the bottom of the barrel of where they are. I think what hurts this show, I think Marvel could be its own worst enemy in the sense that they created this integrated universe. And it's just, I'm a baby when it comes. I want it more integrated. I want more connections. And I know you hop on YouTube, there are people pulling 160 million Easter eggs, and I'm like, I don't fucking see any of them. I don't know what you guys are talking about. But I want a little more connection. I like it. It's more of it feels like it's in the Raiders of the Lost Ark universe more than it's in the Marvel universe to me. And again, I like it. I'm watching it. It's good. Oscar Isaac's great. Cast is excellent. It's beautifully shot. It's fun. I think is really stealing it from me is F. Murray Abraham, the voice of Khonshu. I think is hysterical. I love his performance as Khonshu. Always a big fan of Ethan Hawke. Enjoying what he's doing. It's good. It's worth watching. There's 2 more episodes left. It's a quick ride, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they wrap this up, or if they're going to tie a neat bow with this character, or if there's going to be more of this show. I'm assuming the character is going to move on to different places in the cinematic universe. But it might be more of it might be better of a binge than of a weekly show if you're sitting down. Actually, I'm thinking, but I'm enjoying it. What about you, Keith? What do you think?
Oh, good segue. Look at you using all that time really well. I like it. I like it more than Chad does, clearly, because I like it. But I think, to me, I kind of like the fact it's not as integrated into the rest of the MCU. I feel like the more you have to rely on other connections, the more you box yourself off, right? And this sort of puts itself in its own corner of the universe, and still, because it's not so integrated, gives us the opportunity to say, well, what if this is all fake? What if this is all inside of his head, right? What if none of it's real? I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's taking from Jeff Lemire's comic book run a lot, in which case we're still going to find out that it's all real, but he's retreating almost into a mind palace sort of thing. I think Isaac's amazing. I think F. Murray Abraham's great. I think Ethan Hawke's great. I think the lady playing Layla is phenomenal. And I wonder if she will translate fully into the Scarlet Scarab by the end of it, because it seems like that's where her character name comes from. But I'm really enjoying what they have. I think the only thing that bothers me about it, or that isn't up to my expectation, is I guess I wanted it a little darker. You can definitely tell there's some Raiders of the Lost Ark. You can definitely tell there's the Brendan Fraser Mummy influences. Even the Layla character has an Evie, Rachel Weisz sort of feel to her. And I like all that. That's great. But I just wanted, as we're going into the supernatural in a way that even Doctor Strange didn't really, I wanted a little bit more darkness, because Marvel can be scary at times. And I wanted to kind of see some of that. But it feels like it's going more for the ambience of Black Panther, but with a more authentic view of Egyptian culture. If that makes any sense? So I'm interested to see how the rest of it will go. I think also when you're talking about a character like Mark Spector, who has DID, which is a controversial diagnosis to begin with, you have to tiptoe around that, especially when you're imbuing them with superpowers and making this question of, are the multiple personalities something that's real, or is it a mental issue? Like, what is that? And navigating through that has to be a difficult thing to do. But I do trust Disney and Marvel to take the responsible steps in order to tell that story. So I'm interested to see how it caps off. I do think it would be interesting if all we get of the character is 6 episodes and that's it, and we walk away. That would be a bold move. Don't get me wrong. I want to see Oscar Isaac like play in the bigger sandbox, but I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it.
You know, going back to you talking about the mythology of Egypt and all that, that one of the things that I really did like was when all the gods were talking to Oscar Isaac Conchu, and Ethan Hawke was there, you know, and they had that whole conversation. I really dug that. I thought that was awesome how they played that out with all the different gods. So that was pretty cool how they did that. But I also want to touch on one other thing you said too, Keith, about us recording. When we record, you know, I feel like sometimes we should record maybe the type of podcast we are after the biggest Marvel movies. So I think like Spider-Man, No Way Home came out, and it was like 3.5 weeks before we recorded. So Doctor Strange is coming out here pretty soon, maybe a week and a couple days. We probably should record after we all watch Doctor Strange.
Agreed.
Or the day before we all see it.
Right before we see it. That's it. We'll pregame podcast.
Jesus fucking Christ. Well, that just, I think that's evidence that this podcast is just kind of lost. Speaking of which, Chad saw a movie that everybody's been dying to see, the new Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum picture, The Lost City of Z, or whatever the fuck it's called. Chad, what did you think about The Lost City, and what's the title of the movie? Is it just The Lost City?
Yeah, The Lost City. No, you're thinking Lost City of Z because that's her novel. She's a novelist and she wrote that book and the thing, but it's just called The Lost City. But this was a lot of fun. You know, I like movies like this, you know, just fun, kind of action romantic comedies. You know, you had mentioned it earlier. So for your reference, Keith, it does have a lot of the Mummy influence, the Brendan Fraser Mummy. Awesome. Rob, for you, more like Romance in the Stone from back then. That's probably more yours. That's how you'll remember what it's kind of like.
In 1952, they released The African Queen. Rob, I think you were 20-something.
Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, that was a good one.
So, you know, it's a lot of fun.
Picture show.
Sandra Bullock is really good in these roles, though. Like, she is great as a comedic, you know, top woman. You know, she's just really good. And then Channing Tatum is so fun in this role. You know, he's just kind of like a doofus. And, you know, from the trailer, Brad Pitt's in it as like an awesome, you know, military guy. He is, in general, he's the coolest guy in the room. I've said that 100 times. That's what he plays in this movie as well. What's funny about it is I feel like if this movie would have been made like 20 years earlier, Brad Pitt would have been the Channing Tatum role in this. Yeah. It's pretty funny how it's switched. Channing Tatum's that, and Brad Pitt is like the older, smart, you know, war hero who knows everything. But it's a lot of fun. You know, if you like movies like that, I'd say check it out. It's fun. It's good.
It almost kind of seems like Brad Pitt is playing that Channing Tatum doofus role in his next movie in Bullet Train. I don't know if you saw the previews for that, but it sort of seems like he's more of that.
I did see that, but I do feel like, again, without having seen Bullet Train, it does seem like Brad Pitt is well equipped. Like, he's a good fighter. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he might not be the smartest or the best, but Channing Tatum is inept in just about every way possible, you know, in this. So it's a little bit different, but I can kind of see where you're coming from with that.
No, well, that sounds fun. Let me talk about a film that I saw. I think I'm the only person that saw it, although you all should see it. It's an A24 release, so you can tell everybody's really excited about it. And that is Everything Everywhere All at Once, directed by the Daniels, starring Michelle Yeoh. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, amazing.
We talked about the trailer of this movie a couple times, I think. This is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, just from seeing it once. I would compare it to The Matrix in as far as just something I had never seen before in my life. There is a reason this movie has an insane amount of buzz about it, because it's just that fucking good, whether it's from the visual standpoint or the emotional beats, but it's also funny, like laugh out loud, hilarious at times, and a dirty sense of humor as well, and just pushes Michelle Yeoh into interesting places, as well as a fucking Short Round's in it. And Short Round is phenomenal in this movie. I will be shocked if he doesn't get nominated for all of the awards, because he's so fucking good. Like, literally my favorite movie I've seen 2-3 years. I put it over Batman. I put it over Spider-Man No Way Home. I put it over everything. I can't really say more without ruining the movie, but it's just quirky smart. Not like the science fiction is intelligent if you don't think about it too much, but it's still like, I've never seen that happen in a movie before. This is fun. I want to see more of this. And it's got a couple of nice little cameos. Jenny Slate shows up in it. It's produced by the Russo brothers, and it's only a matter of time before these guys get a big name property like a Marvel film or something like that. This is the calling card they'll have for a long time. So I can't recommend it enough. Really great movie.
Well, I'll say that my daughter saw it as well, and it's in her top 10 as well, movies of all time. She loved it as well. She said it was incredible.
Yeah.
And she said, when you're on the podcast, she didn't tell me anything about it, but she said, when you're on the podcast, because I told her Keith saw it, she said, tell Keith she loved the raccoon. Or the raccoon.
Fucking raccoon is my favorite part of the movie, hands down. Like, I just think about that raccoon before I go to bed at night, and it just brings me joy, because it's such a well paid off joke. Like, it's so good. So if you haven't seen the movie, go see it so you understand the raccoon. If you have seen the movie, you automatically are laughing now because you're thinking about that fucking raccoon, who is voiced by Randy Newman, which is kind of crazy. But that's Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you're not living in a bubble, you should be able to go see it. But if you are living in a bubble, Rob and Chad are going to talk about it while I go get potato chips. So go for it, guys.
You got it. Chad, what'd you think of The Bubble? Introduce it.
So, The Bubble is a Netflix film. A Judd Apatow joint. A lot of his regulars are in this. Basically, the gist of it is it's set during COVID times, and they're trying to come out with maybe the first movie when COVID first hits, and everyone's getting tested, and it's a comedy, but it's the struggles that they're going through to try to actually complete this film. And in general, I kind of like the idea of that. I do feel like that it's a bit much. It's not great. I'll say that right now. I feel like there were too many characters, and I'm not talking about cameos because there's a ton of cameos in this film, but there were too many quote main characters that had stories, to the point where I felt like, if we had cut out one or two of these characters, the movie would be much leaner and it would get over with faster. It was way too long, and then it just got kind of insane. So much so that it kind of took me out of it. So, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this one. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I was a little surprised how, Apatow's made some really, dare I say, legendary, heartfelt comedies, in the past 2 decades. I was just surprised how many of the jokes fell flat. I mean, really, and because they did, I think there was a strange arrogance in thinking that the jokes were going to work, because the editing around those jokes slowed the movie down, because it's almost like they held for the laughter at times, and there was no laughter, so it was just the movie screeching to a halt over and over again. And that's not saying all the jokes fell flat, but enough of them where it really just slowed down. I love the whole idea. I mean, us having a little bit of an idea what goes on in the industry. It's fun. Things inside, a little behind, inside baseball is always a little fun. So it's kind of fun to see, the sort of spoofing and caricatures of actors, but not really, the insanity. And so it's fun. And again, it was littered with great people. I love Karen Gillan. There's an actor named Goose Khan, and I guess I've seen him before. I don't know where. And he played this lunatic character, which was a lot of fun. I'll tell you this, obviously we're all familiar with Pedro Pascal, and he's been doing a lot of work. For some reason, this is the movie where I went, he's really good. He's really got range. There was something about this character where I was like, I haven't seen him do this. And it was really outside sort of the bubble, no pun intended, of what he's been doing. And really dug his work in this a lot. That being said, total flip side, and I don't like knocking actors, Duchovny was terrible. David Duchovny was so awful. I don't know if he was walking through this or what was going on, but nothing. I didn't buy a thing he said or did, and it was weird, man. He was just completely miscast in this. The movie runs a little long, you know. There's a lot of this. There is a lot of fun to be had. It runs a bit long. You can almost see, and I don't know if Netflix produced this or if it's one of the ones they acquired, but you can almost see as if the studio went, we can't. This is not going to do well in the studio. Let's see if one of these streaming services will pick it up.
Right.
And again, if you like movies about movies and silly comedies, it's fine. It is sort of hit or miss with the jokes. Not everybody's at their best. Pedro Pascal is great. Goose Khan is excellent. Leslie Mann is always great. And she is and there's no exception here. Keegan Michael Key's fine. Fred Armisen, I usually like Fred Armisen. He was just, again, it was a little, I don't know if it was the writing. It was just a little off for me, or maybe even more than a little off.
Right.
That being said, I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I was going to say real fast, the person I actually like the most, I'd never seen him before. I like the tall, skinny guy who played like the COVID tester or whatever. I thought he had some funny lines. He was the funniest part of the movie, and he was more one of the side characters that didn't have a whole lot to do. And I was like, I'd just rather see what he's going on, because he seemed like an insane person.
Yeah,
he was so excited to like befriend these actors.
Yep.
And that's real too. You know what I mean?
He was great. He was very good. I'm always a fan of Peter Serafinowicz. He's always good. And Kate McKinnon drove me crazy again. I'm getting further and further away from Kate McKinnon the more she does Kate McKinnon.
Oh, I didn't know Kate McKinnon was in it. I'll go watch it right now because
just
so much.
It's a little much.
I've never seen Kate McKinnon and didn't like what I saw. So I'm just saying, I'm in love with her. She's not going to return that. But.
So have you seen, I'm not sure if it's out yet. Have you seen, oh gosh, what's his Tiger King with her?
Carol, what? Joe versus
Carol Baskin.
That bitch.
Is it out? Is it out yet? It's not out, is it?
Yeah, it's out. It's on Peacock. I haven't watched it yet though.
Oh, okay.
But I intend to. It's just not the top of my priorities. It's lower down on there. I wouldn't say it's in the cellar, but let's move on and talk about the cellar. The Cellar is a film that I saw. I think I'm the only person that saw it. It is a Shudder exclusive, Shudder original. I don't know. It's one of those words. And it stars somebody famous whose name I forgot. Hold on one second.
Elijah Cuthbert, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Cuthbert.
Yeah, Cuthbert, whatever.
I'm not sure.
In it, but it's
seen her in a while.
Yeah, predominantly an Irish film about a family that moves into a new house. That's the way these things start. And they're on the first night, they lose their daughter in the cellar. And the rest of the movie plays out as this sort of demonic haunted house thing. And I'm a huge fan of Catholic horror. And anytime we get into the hierarchy of hell and demons and demonology, you got me. Like, I'm sold on that. And this movie is very effective in the psychological horror aspects of it. It's very effective with some of the visuals. They have a shot that looks like it's out of the original Phantasm in their depiction of hell, but just a better shot. And it's really cool. They go into, like, you see Baphomet, spoiler alert, and it's really cool the way they do that. And then it kind of shits the bed at the very end of the movie, in a negative way, not an Amber Heard way, which I guess is negative as well. But definitely shits the bed. I still would recommend it, but again, not the best of films, but still, it's got some good moments in it. And Elijah Cuthbert does fantastic in the film. It's got some cool thoughts and some cool ideas in it. So anyway, so that's a movie I saw. But you were talking about Pedro Pascal earlier, and he has a new film out that Chad saw that I cannot wait to see.
He's well.
It's The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Chad, how was this film?
Yeah, I loved it. It definitely lived up to the expectations of the trailer. You know, we were gushing over the trailer on the podcast. It was very funny. Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal have great chemistry. You're talking about Pedro being a great actor. He was awesome in this too. He was excellent. They're so good together. And at the very beginning of the movie, Nick Cage, he's in LA driving to a meeting, and he just like screams. He's just like, wow. And I thought, yeah, that's Nick Cage. I'm sure that's what he does. He just drives in his car and screams. That's nothing crazy. It is, Nick Cage is making fun of himself. He's making fun of his career, some of his career choices. He, kind of like Moon Knight, he talks to a different version of himself sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that version is like, you're a fucking movie star. Stop doing these shit movies or whatever. And Nicolas Cage is like, I just want to be an actor. And he's like, and this other self smacks him. He's like, shut the fuck up. You sound like an idiot. We are movie stars. That's what we do. Big movies or whatever. So it's so clever. It's, so well done that, it's definitely, you guys checking it out for sure. But I think anybody that's kind of a fan of Nick Cage or even has a curiosity, because I do feel like this is some Nick Cage stuff for sure. He's not acting a whole lot. I feel like he's being himself.
That's awesome. I think I could say it because it got made public in a couple of posts by the director, but I just recently worked with Nick Cage and Ben Schwartz, and I cannot wait to see this just from my own experiences with Cage now, so I can see like, yeah, that's totally fucking him as a person. I'll just say I can't say too much about my interaction. That's the studio trying to force choke me from across the world. But Nicolas Cage meowed at me, so that just lets you know what type of human this man is. And
that wasn't in the movie. That was just in the bathroom, right?
It wasn't in the movie. That's like, he really fucking meowed at me in a conversation. And so I'm just saying, that's who Nick Cage is. The nicest guy in the world, very down to earth, meowed at me. So I cannot wait to see The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. But that leads me to, and I don't know if you have this feeling, but when you work with somebody and then you go see a project of theirs, you have like an affection instantly built. If you like that person, you're like, oh, I'm proud that they're doing this. At least that's how I feel. And I definitely felt this way going in to see this next film, Sonic 2, starring Ben Schwartz as Sonic. I liked the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Yeah.
It was super enjoyable, surprisingly good. I never played the Sonic games. The beginning of this movie, I realized, oh, this one's definitely more child-oriented. There's like a breakdance scene and stuff like that, which I'm like, oh, that's not. But then at the same time, I'm like, what, did I fucking want the Dark Knight of Sonic the Hedgehog movies?
Moon Knight.
Yeah, so, but this one's super charming still. Idris Elba's a great addition to it. His character of Knuckles plays more like Worf from Star Trek Next Generation, and that gives so much comedic value to this movie. At the beginning of the movie, I didn't believe anything Jim Carrey was doing. It just seemed like jokes for joke's sake. But by the end of it, I was completely on board with him, and I was having a blast with it. So I think if you just sit through the film, there's going to be some rough spots as you go. But then by the end of it, it all sort of finds its own way to convalesce and make a movie that's very entertaining. The biggest problem I have with it, though, is a problem I have with a bunch of things based on IP from the late 80s, early 90s. When they try to convert it to a major motion picture, they always think to themselves, oh, you know what will make this more exciting? Is if we forget everything about the world they're from and bring them into our world. And I don't know why that's the knee-jerk fucking reaction of all of these cartoon and video game movies. Fuck you. I don't want to see Super Mario go into 7-Eleven or He-Man having to walk down the street. I want to fucking see He-Man like in Eternia. You know what I mean? Same thing with Sonic. I want to see fucking hills that do this. Like, that's what I want. But, you know, neither here nor there. Still an enjoyable movie. Not as good as the first. Happy for Ben. It was a fun time to see him and all that jazz. So let's go on to our next film.
Real quick, I heard Idris Elba's getting a spinoff actually of the character Knuckles. He's getting a spinoff show.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah,
I can totally see that. That'd be fun.
Paramount Plus. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Pretty good.
Well, that sounds magical, as does our next film that Chad and I saw, and that's Fantastic Beasts, and we're to find them probably with the Secrets of Dumbledore. I don't know what the fucking title of this movie was. I think it's the third of this series.
Correct.
Chad, I saw Secrets of Dumbledore. What did you think about this movie starring Jude Law, Eddie Redmayne, Mads Mikkelsen, and the list goes on and on?
So, Rob, I'm going to set the stage for you. Imagine if Professor X and Magneto were in love with each other. I'm not convinced that Professor X and Magneto aren't in love with each other. First,
you say they're not?
They could be, but they lean heavily. I say heavily. It's not. It's not subtext in this movie. You know, they are in love with each other, but they're at odds now. You know, I love their interaction. Jude Law and Mads in this movie are not in it enough together, because when they're together, the movie like pops. It is awesome when they're together. There is a fight at the end when they are fighting, and they stop halfway through the fight because they end up the way they're fighting. They both have their hands on each other's hearts, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is incredible!" That fight was awesome when they were doing that, and that's where, you know, the movie was its best, when it was about Mads and Jude Law's relationship, even when they weren't together. I do feel like I'm not as much of a fan of the Fantastic Beasts series as Harry Potter, but I do like this one the best out of all the Fantastic Beasts. I feel like it actually knew where it was going. You know, and like the other ones, it's just kind of like, hey, we're just trying to get to the next piece, you know, the next story or whatever. So I actually dug this one a lot. I really liked it. I thought it was a bold choice, though, Keith, to have it ripped from the headlines with a rigged election.
Fucking man. Hey, that's the thing I was going to say. It's the story of Trump meets the stolen election thing, all mishmash, in a way that was so fucking obvious. Like, his rise to power was the Donald Trump story from beginning to end. And that was the thing that kept like jumping out at me. I'm like, are we really doing this? But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that was it. Yeah. You can give your opinion now. I just thought that was funny that it was, you know, they literally had a rigged election for the magical world or whatever.
But also, shout out to my homeboy, the Chillin, a Chinese mythological creature that's getting so much play in all these fantasy films now. So fuck yeah. But like, I feel the beginning of this movie, I felt myself realizing I didn't remember the last movie well at all.
Same. 100%.
Wait, who is this? Wait, he's whose kid? Like, and what happened to his bitch? What, like, and I just felt myself confused. But then, you know, it occurred to me that this doesn't have the charm of the Harry Potter movies. And I think it's because Harry Potter, you're seeing all of the darkness of the world and all of the magic of the world through the lens of childhood at all times. You're growing up with these characters. These stories are about adults. These stories are about politics, and they're about hate, and they're about love. And I do love the fact, exactly what you said, Jude Law is completely in love with this man, and it's there, like right there for you to see it, right? I hear that in overseas versions of the film, they cut all of that. They cut the lines that would indicate that. But I love his performance. I loved Mads Mikkelsen in this role. I thought he was great. I kept Eddie Redmayne is really fucking working overtime and doing some great stuff. To me, the walkaway winner of the film was Lally, or whatever her name was, the chick from the Daily Show. She was incredible. Like,
she was awesome.
So she had the transatlantic accent, and it was just so fucking phenomenal. My favorite part was when Nibbler and Pick are falling through the air, and then Nibbler goes after all the gold coins when you think he's going to go after the tree. That was amazing. I wish some of the, I wish there was some more excitement at certain points of it and had some more of the charm of the Harry Potter series. But overall, I really enjoyed where this was going. I really enjoyed this take on it. It is a darker, more serious version of the Harry Potter world. But I don't get why this is the one getting shit on, because I think this is the best out of all of the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Right. I agree.
And I really dug a lot of it. So I there's rumor now that this will be the last one. I don't know if they're going to continue with the original, the plan of the 5. I think Ezra Miller has had a lot of controversy around him, but I do ultimately think that Ezra Miller's a really fucking good actor. Terrible person, it seems like, but really good actor. And I enjoyed him every time he showed up in this. And I love the fight sequences in this movie. They look so fucking cool every time they're doing magic. I think if you just wear a suit, you look cooler. I'm going to wear a suit from now on. Even when I'm showering, taking a shit, I think I'll look cooler from wearing a suit. So I enjoyed this. I kind of want to see more of Jude Law in this world, because to me, him and Lally are the standouts. Like, they're the stars. And Mads, I would not mind at all if he comes back, because he played what could have been a mustache twirling, especially when you put the Donald Trump aspect into it, bad guy with such levels and compassion and dedication. It almost reminded me of his Caecilius from Doctor Strange. One of my favorite scenes of any of the MCU movies is when he's describing how beautiful the Dark Dimension is, and you could see him almost cry, right? Because it's beautiful to him. And that same sort of conviction, he has that here. I wish maybe they would have given you more clues to remind you of what his plan was throughout the movie, so you knew to remember, oh, we cannot let this happen no matter what.
Right.
But I guess he decapitated a fucking deer or whatever he did earlier, so it's fine, whatever.
That was kind of shocking, though. I mean, I did not expect. I mean, it was brutal there at the beginning. The movie just started kind of, and I was like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
brutal.
There's a Harry Potter and just slitting throats and shit. Reminds me of the next movie we're gonna talk about. Fuck. So I enjoyed it. I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I liked the next one, which is The Northman. So directed by Robert Eggers, who I fucking love his work. This is not an A24 film, but it stars Alexander Skarsgård, Stellan Skarsgård, Willem Dafoe, Anya Taylor-Joy, Ethan Hawke, Nicole Kidman, Bjork, and the guy who played Dracula in the Netflix series. And he's really good in this. And it's the story that Hamlet is based on. It's an old Scandinavian folk tale of Amalith, whose father is killed by his uncle. And years later, he goes Conan the Barbarian on him and tries to get revenge. Look, I'll say this. I dug this movie a lot. I don't like it as much as The Witch, and I don't like it as much as The Lighthouse. I feel this was Eggers' effort to go more mainstream, and had it been produced by A24, it would have worked better than trying to navigate within that mainstream world. That being said, it is beautiful. It is gorgeous to look at. It's moody as fuck. And it is Hamlet meets Macbeth meets Home Alone a little bit. I think the weakest part of the movie is Alexander Skarsgård. There are some moments where I just don't believe him, and there are some moments when I'm completely raptured by what he's saying. I think where it doesn't meet the mainstream expectations are sort of where it deviates from the trailer. The trailer sort of presented as the sword and sandal sort of epic about Vikings. And it is that kind of, but it is more slow paced. There's a lot of action scenes that are oneers, but in the action scenes, it's not choreographed to be fast chopping people. It's slow, brutal moments, because that's what the director likes to capture. The other thing I really like about the movie is that it has elements of Norse religion woven through it, but you don't know if they're real. And it's more of just saying, like, the same way someone in a modern Western world would say, God help me. The inference there is that there's a belief in God. Apply that now to a Norse story. So Odin be praised, that sort of thing. And you're seeing this character's ideas of what heaven will look like, but it's all from a Norse perspective, which is just interesting. It's great. It's cool. But even while I was watching it, there were people in the theater completely getting lost, and you could tell like they were walking out because the movie would go down these weird paths. But me as an Eggers fan, they're not super weird. They're not as weird as he can go. But for a mainstream audience, it's a little bit off kilter. You know what I mean? That being said, some brutal last moments. Skarsgård has more muscles than the fucking ocean. The ending sequence is basically the Mustafar fight scene from fucking Star Wars, but better shot, and it's beautiful. Stellan Skarsgård shows up for one scene and steals the whole fucking movie. There's a fart joke by Willem Dafoe that I still can't stop laughing about. And it's still just like, it's a very interesting film. I don't know that Eggers will ever get this budget again. Because I though I enjoyed it, I don't see a mass audience running to it just because it is still a little, his style, which is good for him. Good for him sticking to your guns. But you know what I mean?
You think that it because you said if A24 would produce it, it'd have been better. Do you think it wasn't art house enough then? Or they didn't find a good balance?
I don't think they found a good enough balance. I think if you wanted it to be more mainstream, you need to throw some more mainstream stuff in there to dilute the weirdness of it. But if you would have had the A24, I think the promotional material would have come off completely different, and it wouldn't have advertised to get the audience that was in that theater. It would have been something else. You know what I mean? Because it's no weirder than Everything Everywhere All at Once, but and in fact, it's much more placid in its delivery. But that being said, it was marketed to be Conan the Barbarian in Viking time. It was marketed trying to get all of the people who are watching Lost Kingdom and Valhalla and all that shit. And I think if A24 had produced it, it would have been very different. It's the Green Knight, but a little bit more somber, if that makes sense.
It's funny because my wife, she had mentioned to me, she was like, yeah, I want to see the Northman. And I said, you don't want to see the Northman. And she was like, why not? I said, it's Robert Eggers. So she was like, I don't know what that means. And so then like a couple of days later, she was telling my daughter, she was like, yeah, I was telling your dad I want to see the Northman. And Maggie was like, you don't want to see the Northman. It's Robert Eggers.
That's funny. It's funny.
It's not, my wife likes, Gladiator and Braveheart.
And it's not.
And that's what she's thinking. And I'm like, that's not what this is going to be.
Exactly. And that's what one of my exes who lives in Alpharetta, which is like a fancy posh sort of whatever town. It's where Braga lives.
Yeah.
You're muted.
Hey, Rob, you're muted, by the way.
God damn it. Not quite as fancy as posh as you let on.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that would have been a great joke if we would have heard it, I guess.
Yeah. But in Alpharetta, they don't even have to deliver their jokes. Their jokes are so rich, we can't even afford them.
He's acting like a mime right now. It's a podcast, and Rob's acting like a mime. That's how great he is right now.
But but my ex, my ex from an affluent family, her and her mother, her like 63-year-old mother, they were like going to go see the Northman. I'm like, I think you should know it's a little more pagan and bloody than you're expecting it to be. You get to see a lot of nudity. Anya Taylor-Joy is completely nude. Minstrel things happen. You get to see the trunk of Alexander Skarsgård's dick. So I know some people that host the podcast are excited about that. I don't know if you know. And then, but there is also animal brutality. They kill a dog. They kill a couple horses. So, but yeah, whatever. It is an enjoyable film, but reader discretion advised. Also, I think let's go from one Norse story to another. Let's talk about some trailers.
Coming soon.
Let's talk about the one trailer we're going to talk about this week. Thor, Love and Thunder. So directed by Taika Waititi, starring Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Taika Waititi, Russell Crowe, Tessa Thompson, and Christian fucking Bale. This is the fourth film in the Thor saga that sees Thor venturing off with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Something happens, and all of a sudden we're introduced to Gore, the God Butcher. Now, this trailer didn't show us a lot of stuff, but it showed us a fair amount. Chad, what did you think about the trailer for Thor, Love and Thunder?
Yeah, like you said, it didn't really show us much story-wise, or it wasn't even that long. It was just a tease, but I loved it nonetheless. It was it was very funny. We got to see Natalie Portman Thor. She looked awesome. But, I know they're probably not in it that much, but, Chris Pratt and Thor are just so good together. They're so funny.
Right.
And I died laughing. I rewound it and watched it. Must have been 5 times. That scene where Chris Pratt is just talking about, you look the people you love in the eyes. And then just out of the frame, Thor comes in. It is so funny. And then he's like, oh, no, I wasn't doing anything. And he just looks off to they are great together. So I'm looking forward to that, as small as it may be, but it doesn't matter. Taika Waititi, he could do no wrong for me. Our Flag Means Death, the other Thor movies, What We Do in the Shadows. I love Taika Waititi. So give me everything he can do. It's an MCU movie. It's Thor. I just can't see how this is going to be a bad movie, frankly.
Yeah. Same here. Rob, what about you?
He does so many things well. Not to leave off the fact, can he pick a song for a freaking trailer? Good God. And match up. The whole movie looks like an album cover. It looks like just an 80s Van Halen album cover. You got Guns N' Roses, and you just hear the music just a little bit change at the beginning. You're going, is that Guns N' Roses? Is that fucking? And you're just like, you're at the edge of your seat, just waiting for the song to kick in, and it's just, he just grabs you with the music. And again, I haven't read the comic version of the Mighty Thor. This is the one. Spoiler alert for people out there, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Natalie Portman's character, Jane Foster, has cancer in this, at least in the comic book version. And what's unfortunate is the power of Thor when she Thors up. I don't know what the fuck you call it. When she gains her power, because it gives her so much strength, it eliminates any foreign bodies in her body, and it recognizes chemo as a foreign body, gets it out of her, so she gets sicker with cancer the more that she's Thor. And what I'm getting at is Taika Waititi's funny as shit, but he combines, he can balance comedy and very sensitive issues, as he's proven quite a few times, not to mention with Jojo Rabbit, being able to balance the Holocaust and then just unbelievably funny, touching scenes and laugh out loud scenes. I hope they lean into that just to let him, go. But again, this movie is littered with great people. Holy shit. I can only imagine. I'm guessing the Guardians are there for 15 minutes before they take off. Because just to get to the main crux of this, but the visuals look stunning. And again, we haven't even gotten a taste of Christian Bale yet as Gore the God Butcher. You're talking arguably one of the best working actors out there, and just to see what he's going to do is just that has me on the edge of my seat. Just what is Bale going to do going toe to toe with all these characters? Holy shit. That's 9 days away. I can't wait. Thursday afternoon, the earliest show I am going.
I don't think it's 9 days away.
You're thinking of Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange is 9 days away.
99 days away. That being said, 9 days from now.
No wonder we record at weird times. Rob has no idea what
exactly.
I can't wait for this Casablanca movie to come out.
What is that? I've had too many chips. The hummus. I'm having an allergic reaction. So it's 3 months away, and I'll be there Thursday.
Rob, this is fair because I asked Alexa the other day when the Thor movie was coming out, and it was the Doctor Strange date. So maybe it was originally.
Yeah, so screw you guys.
That's
it
what
really
Rob
was.
Rob gets info from Chad's Alexa. Really?
Siri, when does Thor: The Dark World come out? Comes out.
First of all, the movie's not called Thor: The Dark World. That movie came out 7 years ago. So we see why there's a problem here.
Siri, when does the second sequel to Thor: The Dark World come out? The second sequel to Thor: The Dark World.
That would be Ragnarok, wouldn't it? The second sequel?
The second sequel to Dark World, instead.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to Semantics, the podcast. It's fun for everyone. Hearing an old man lose his mind.
Are you anti-semantic? Is that what you are?
I think to me, this trailer First of all, Sweet Child of Mine's a perfect fucking song for it.
Oh.
It's written about Don Everly's daughter, who Axl Rose was dating. The more you know. Also, I just feel like Taika Waititi was like, when he got Thor, he's like, I want everything to look like a painting on the side of a van. I think that's all he wanted. Like fucking for everything. It's like the most metal shit in the world, but still silly. Like, talk about finding balance. He finds a great way to get that quirky, independent feel into a mainstream formula, the same way that James Gunn does. It's just, I feel Taika's is a little sillier than Gunn's is. Gunn's is more stripped down humor, while with Taika Waititi's is much more lavish, pop colors, all that sort of stuff. But I think it's just great. And my hope is that he'll find a way to balance that with the darkness of the Jane Foster story, of Gore the God Butcher, that story, and find a way to make those worlds come crashing into each other, because I think that will make an amazing cinematic experience. You know what I mean? It looks great. The idea of Thor finding himself now, since he's no longer the Asgardian prince, now what do you do? You know what I mean? And that looks fun. I also, Hemsworth, it cannot be overstated how good he is at comedy, how great his sense, just he's a great fucking actor. Like, he's fun to watch no matter what he's doing. So I'm here for it, and especially in the hands of Taika. Yeah, I can't wait for it. So I'll be lining up Thursday. Granted, we'll have to wait 2.5 months, but it'll, this Thursday.
Camp it out, baby. 3 months.
We'll line up Thursday. We'll see it 2.5 months. We'll podcast about it in 1 year, 3 days.
Rob is still sitting outside the Aurora Theater. 3 months early. Fuck. Thank you very much. That being said, Keith, Thursday, is it the 5th? May 5th?
Yeah.
We'll try to catch it at Aurora, 12 o'clock, whatever the earliest Thursday showing of a Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Going to see, just to avoid all spoilers.
Okay.
Because I don't want to hear somebody tell me that Tom Cruise is Tony Stark.
Yeah. I mean, the internet's probably already told you, and you already listen to all your weird podcasts.
Spectral Stark, I believe.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us. Trash Can Fires here, and we're looking for.
Then he gets mad. He goes, "These fuckers just told me everything. Ugh.
Yeah.
Why'd I click on that link?"
Whatever stupid shit they say. Like, guys, did you know that Dr. Octopus was once an actual octopus? And we're like, no, he wasn't.
Oh my God. Thursday afternoon. Be there.
Not this Thursday. The next.
We get there early. I'm gonna buy your Thor tickets Wednesday. Perfect. That'd be nice.
And then, like I said, maybe we can record a podcast about it a little bit sooner after we all watch it on Thursday.
Or in the relative time of it. You know what I mean? So what will happen is if we record, say, next Friday, next Saturday, something like that, then we could talk about Moon Knight and Doctor Strange.
And it'd be the finale of Moon Knight, too, because there's only 2 episodes left. We get both Wednesdays.
That's right.
This is good podcasting. Literally, the 2 people that listen to us know our plan.
that will not come to fruition, by the way.
No, 100%. Rob will be like, "Oh, I saw a bee, threw up my back."
I just want to thank Chad. Chad is the gift that keeps on giving. About 12, 14 years ago, after about 30 years of getting poison ivy horribly every year from being in my yard from head to toe and taking oatmeal baths and drowning in calamine lotion, Chad goes, my Meemaw up in Dahlonega, she used to say that there's this soap called Fell's Naphtha. And I was like, what are you talking about, you weird southerner? He said, no, it gets rid of all these poison ivies that you get. You just rub it on your body. I was like, you crazy weirdo, leave me alone. And then I went out and he suggested it. So I went to Walmart and I bought Fell's Naphtha, this soap bar. And because I had poison ivy really bad. And I rubbed it all over and the poison ivy was gone in like 24 hours. So Chad Dowdy, to you, I got poison ivy 2 days ago. It was gone yesterday. Fell's Naphtha, pick up the bar at Walmart. They're $1 each.
First of all,
that was a great ad read. That was a great ad read, Rob.
Wonderful. We're sponsored by Fell's Naphtha or whatever the fuck you saying. 2 notes. 1, the accent you were doing for Chad That guy fucks chickens. He's a chicken fucker. The second thing is, I understand why our podcast is called Not Quite Cool now. It's because Rob tells you how he gets rid of his skin rashes.
Hey, but the shit works. That's all that matters. The shit works.
I think, Rob had to read for a part probably about 14 years ago. It was like a hillbilly redneck. He was like, "Hey, Chad, do you mind if I just record you talking for a little bit? I'm trying to get this hillbilly redneck accent down."
Nailed it. Hey, Mimo, where's my fills now?
Mimo! I like the way he sounded like the red Smurf. And you're like, I'm not gonna lie, Chad has a southern accent. It's not, well, I reckon.
It's not as bad as Tom Hanks and Elvis.
Oh,
They will call me a villain.
that is a big flaw in that movie, guys. That trailer was hard to watch because of that freaking accent. So,
God damn, that rough. Anyway,
I digress. This was fun.
Yep. I'm gonna go order a pizza. Let puppies out. Chad, where can the people find you?
I'm on Twitter, Chad129X, and the podcast is on Twitter, NQC Podcast.
While Twitter lasts, Rob, where can the people find you?
Twitter at Rob Pralgo, Instagram, and something like that. I can't remember the exact address, but I'm on Instagram there.
Or if you need to find Rob, he will be camping out the Aurora Theater, apparently.
I'll be there all week long. They got good cookies and drinks or free refills. And I'll be there getting my Black Panther tickets.
That's great. Sounds good. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll catch you next time, probably 6 months.
Bell snap.
Peace.
Not Quite Cool is a podcast recorded in Atlanta, Georgia, in conjunction with Actors Teaching Actors and Bean Dip Productions. Thanks.